The Devil and the Schoolmaster in the west of Ireland. Nestled between rolling hills and peat bogs, sat the small village of Kilkernan. There, in a modest stone schoolhouse, taught Master Declan O'Donnell. He was a man of medium height with a shock of white hair, piercing blue eyes, and a mind as sharp as a winter morning. O'Donnell was no ordinary teacher. While he instructed the children in their letters and sums, he took particular care to teach them discernment, how to recognize falsehood, detect flattery, and spot the subtle ways evil could disguise itself as good. A child who can see through deception, he often said, is better armored than a knight in steel. These lessons did not go unnoticed in darker realms. Far below, the devil himself grew increasingly irritated as child after child from Kilkernan proved resistant to temptation. They would pause before making poor choices, remembering Master O'Donnell's guidance about considering consequences. This schoolmaster is becoming a nuisance, the devil muttered to himself. Something must be done. One evening, as O'Donnell walked home along the moonlit path, he found a stranger leaning against a rowan tree. The man was impeccably dressed in a fine crimson waistcoat and black suit that seemed to absorb the moonlight around it. Though his face was handsome, his smile never quite reached his eyes. "Good evening, Master O'Donnell," the stranger said with a bow. "I've heard much about your teaching methods." O'Donnell nodded cautiously. "I don't believe we've met, sir." "We have not been formally introduced, true," the stranger replied smoothly. "But your reputation reaches far and wide. Some might say it reaches ... very low indeed." At this, O'Donnell's eyes narrowed. "I see. And what brings you to Kilkernan on this fine evening?" The stranger's smile widened. "I find myself annoyed by your interference in my affairs. Those children would be much more ... malleable without your lessons in discernment. I teach them to think for themselves," O'Donnell replied steadily. "If that inconveniences you, I count it as a success." The devil's smile faltered slightly. "I propose a contest, Schoolmaster. A battle of wits. If you win, I shall leave you and your pupils alone forever. If I win, your soul is mine, and I will take your place at the school." Though his heart pounded, O'Donnell knew refusal would only postpone the inevitable. "I accept your challenge." "What are your terms?" "3 riddles from me, which you must answer. Then 1 from you, which I must solve. Shall we begin?" O'Donnell nodded, and the devil posed his first riddle. "I have cities with no houses, forests with no trees, and oceans with no water. What am I?" O'Donnell thought for a moment before answering, "A map." The devil frowned slightly and continued, "I am always hungry and will die if not fed, yet whatever I touch will soon turn red. What am I?" "Fire," O'Donnell answered without hesitation. Visibly annoyed now, the devil posed his third riddle. "The man who makes me doesn't want me. The man who buys me doesn't use me. The man who uses me doesn't know he's using me. What am I?" O'Donnell stroked his chin thoughtfully. "A coffin," he said at last. The devil's face darkened. "Very well, Schoolmaster. You've answered my 3 riddles. Now pose yours." O'Donnell looked directly into the devil's eyes and spoke slowly. "Name for me the thing I'm thinking of. It was made by God, but never seen by him." The devil began to pace, muttering to himself. He named all manner of hidden things: the center of the earth, the far side of the moon, the bottom of the deepest ocean. O'Donnell shook his head each time. Hours passed. The moon traveled across the sky as the devil grew increasingly agitated. He named obscure creatures, distant stars, and hidden thoughts. Finally, as dawn approached, he growled, "I yield." "What is your answer?" "An equal to God," O'Donnell replied simply. "Something that cannot exist, for God has no equal. It was never made because it cannot be made, and thus God has never seen it." The devil's face contorted with rage. "A trick. A theological trap. Not at all," O'Donnell replied calmly. "Just a riddle that requires understanding what cannot be, rather than what is. I teach my students to recognize what rings false as well as what rings true. With a howl of frustration that echoed across the hills, the devil vanished in a cloud of sulphurous smoke. From that day forward, Master O'Donnell was left to teach in peace. He never spoke of his encounter, but he added a new lesson to his curriculum. Each year, he taught the children that no matter how clever the deception, truth would always reveal itself to those patient enough to wait for it. And in Kilkernan, they say the children grew especially adept at spotting falsehoods, as if guided by some special insight. When asked the secret of their discernment, they would simply smile and say, "Master O'Donnell taught us to look for what cannot be, not just what appears to be."